Welcome to the Illinois Soybean Growers 2021 Commodity Classic Policy Session in Review, hosted by national farm broadcaster Ken Root. Today's broadcast features Atlanta, Illinois soybean farmer who serves as the Illinois Soybean Association's District 9 Director and Government Relations Committee Chair, Ron Kindred. Also today visiting with us is Illinois soybean farmer from West Union, Illinois, who also serves as the Illinois Soybean Association's District 14 Director, Brad Daugherty. And last but not least, an Illinois soybean farmer from Chandlerville, Illinois, who also serves as the Utilization Committee Chair and is an ISA at-large Director, David Wessel. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Illinois Soybean Growers, who greatly encourage those tuning in today to sign up for the Voice for Soy Advocacy Network. And now we'll take you to the broadcast of the Illinois Soybean Growers 2021 Commodity Classic Policy Session in Review, hosted by national farm broadcaster Ken Root.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ken Root. I'm a farm broadcaster, and today I have the pleasure of talking to three members of the Illinois Soybean Association who are going to talk about trade and a number of other areas that go with it. We are just off of the virtual Commodity Classic, which many of us have attended since, I think my first one was in Phoenix in 1995. This year was very different because the farmers did not actually get to go, but staff and many others did a great deal of work in prepping them with the information that they had and being able to hold a virtual event this year. I want to introduce these three gentlemen and also then begin talking with each one of them about issues that are important to them as soybean growers. So Ron Kindred, you're first up. You're from Atlanta, Illinois, right in the middle of the state. You're on the Government Relations Committee. You're the chair of that. You're also the district director for the Illinois Soybean Association. Tell me, if you would, what you took away from this Commodity Classic in this form, and the activities you feel that are the most important for you to participate in as a farmer.
Well, I guess for me, the policy session, the going through the resolutions is the top priority for me, being government relations chair. So it was all held virtual. We had subcommittees where we went through each title of our policy book on separate days. So we devoted one day, I think it took 3.5 hours to get through one title. Another day it took a couple hours. So we spent probably 7 or 8 hours total going through the subcommittee process in 3 days. And then we had the final delegate session, which we got through in a couple hours. But there was a lot of good debate, a lot of good policy came out of that. And that's the highlight for me. Every time we have Commodity Classic, I enjoy the networking with other farmers, seeing all my friends there. But, in the end, the policy session is what is important for us and for Illinois soybean farmers.
Well, I guess no pain and no gain, but I'm glad that you went through all of this and that you also got to relate to the other growers a bit. But for you, facing this year, how do you feel? The eternal optimist of a farmer, or how do you feel going into 2021?
Well, yes, I think with the rebound in prices, the fact that our carryover has diminished so rapidly here in the last 3 months, that it's been such a boost to prices that we have to be optimistic. I think for this year, it's we're able to forward price and lock in some profits, and that's a very rewarding thing to be able to do. And we haven't been able to do that for a couple of years, so it feels good.
I'm sure it does, and I'm glad you're able to get this opportunity and now where you can take it to. Let me go to Brad Daugherty, who's over on the Illinois-Indiana line. You're the District 14 Director from West Union, Illinois. What is your takeaway from any activity that you had tuning in to Commodity Classic this year?
Well, I also sat in on some of the policy sessions, enjoyed that. They also had marketing, which I like, especially after this last report. We just got another report out from NAS and left everything pretty well the same on corn and beans. Didn't change much at all. Left the Brazilian crop and Argentina crop where it was, but the trade was expecting a little bit less. So just the way it goes. Those guys were very positive there at the Commodity Classic, and so very optimistic from that. Weather-wise, the possibility of some dry weather exists according to the weather people, but nothing prolonged. So hopefully we don't have a 2012 again.
Thank you. Let me turn to David Wessel. You're the Utilization Committee Chair, and you're an at-large director, and you're in the west central part of the state at Chandlerville, Illinois. Tell me about your either overview of Commodity Classic and or how you feel going into 2021.
Well, the Commodity Classic is always the final part of our saga, I guess, of putting this policy together. We started here in Illinois probably 2 months ago, going through policy and coming up with ideas and new policy that we would move forward onto the national level. And this is just the proof of the grassroots efforts that goes on here in this organization. And seeing that come to fruition at our policy session, which went rather peacefully, being virtual this year, but he was kind of hesitant, I guess, as the way things would go, but I was very pleased with the way the process worked. Everybody got their voice and got their say, and I think we come up with a good direction for our organization moving forward. One thing that I kind of missed from Commodity Classic is the one-on-one networking that you don't get doing virtual, I guess. I was able to sit in on a couple of meetings we had with a couple of industry companies, and it still isn't the same, but at least we did get to talk with some of our corporate sponsors that we have.
David, staying with you for just a second, we have a new administration in Washington, and a value has been put on carbon. A lot of talk has been about how farmers can be a part in solving climate change problems. How do you feel about the environmental situation as far as it'll impact agriculture as we move into this year?
Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of unknowns, I think, moving forward. A lot of, I guess, speculation as to what this new administration may or may not do. But here at the Illinois Soybean Association, we got a new initiative, a new strategic plan, and we are putting a high priority on environmental issues and climate change with that plan. And we also have moved that forward into national policy. They seen the need to address these issues. They even put in a whole new section in their conservation part, Title B of their policy book, that addressed just carbon trading and carbon credits. So the need for work there is seen, and it is being addressed.
Well, gentlemen, I'd like to have a little round robin of questions for you, and you may not all wish to answer every one of these, but I think there's a number of areas that your expertise can be helpful to other growers in the state and those who are watching this to understand what the American Soybean Association's policy is, what the Illinois Soy Association and growers want to accomplish, and the realities of you on your individual farm, whether you are part of any trade organization or not. And speaking of trade, and let me swing back to Ron here to begin this, and we'll just stay in order with Ron, Brad, and David for a few minutes. Ron, you as a grower, every year, as I see it, try to produce the largest crop you possibly can under the conditions you're facing. So that is supply. And demand is on the other end of that. And you hope that other people around the world have the capability and the availability of getting your product. But there is so much in between what you can produce and what they can buy. Do you feel like the trade is a primary issue for you to face each year, no matter what the supply or demand is?
Oh, definitely, Ken. It is probably has the biggest impact on our bottom lines every year. at 60% of what we grow goes into the export market. And, that at the tune of about $26 billion in U.S. ag exports, so that's quite a figure when you stop and think about that. So it does it has a big impact on our farms. And, we would like to be able to remove a lot of the barriers. I think, we had the China phase 1 agreement that finally, after the tariffs and all the pain and suffering that farmers went through due to those tariffs and reduced prices, we finally get the agreement, and the pace has picked up, and China is buying. And it's made a big difference in our ending stocks and the price we're getting on the farm. So, but we need to. I think the one thing that the deal with China has taught us is that we need to expand our markets more. And we have an emerging market, a growing market in Egypt that Illinois Soybean is investing in, and they are number 5 on soybean imports from the United States. So it's one thing that I think in the future you're going to see us diversify a little bit and expand our markets more broadly than we have in the past.
Brad Daugherty, you also from the number 1 soybean exporting state most years. Is trade a big concern on your mind?
It's a huge concern. Part of what we did there at Commodity Classic with the American Soybean Association and the policy was to try to get reauthorization of the Trade Promotion Authority. Also, the Trans-Pacific agreement and stuff was also on their minds, trying to get a hold of that. Continuation of phase 1 is by far a huge deal to the farmer. What Ron was talking about, we lost price with the tariffs when they were implemented. The flip side of that was we also increased equipment. If you remember, part of that tariff was on steel, iron. That's where our equipment's built from. And so the farmer took a hit both ways, you might say there. He took the price of commodities, but he also took an increase on the price of his equipment at the same time.
David, over to you, and that is, I guess, the same situation here. But to ask you a question, and perhaps you can expand on other things as well. It's hard to keep politics out of this, but for the last 4 years, we haven't had anything that was new trade agreements that were moving ahead, because back in 2016, both the Democrat and Republican candidates said, we're going to do away with the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Now, do you believe that we've got the momentum to move forward with new trade agreements that would benefit you?
Well, they have made a lot of movement in the last 4 years, actually. We've had some bilateral trade agreements with Japan and Korea that took place during this time. And the USMCA was ratified. And that was, Mexico is one of our major customers of soy and soy meal. So even though there may have been a different way of doing these trade agreements and working around them, we still have made a lot of good progress, I feel, here in these last 4 years. But there's more work that needs to be done. Like Brad mentioned too, the Trans-Pacific Partnership is one that we would like to get back into. I know we have had some of that bilateral agreements with some of their members in that area, but anytime you can have free and opener trade, freer trade, so to speak, on a global marketplace, it's beneficial for us.
Well, you pointed out that you did have other trade activities. And let me switch over to Ron regarding NAFTA, if you would like to talk about that. And that is, we have a new NAFTA. Is it going to be any better for you than the old NAFTA?
Well, I guess time will tell. We have to go by what the experts tell us, and they say that it is just as good, if not better, for agriculture and for easing the restrictions, both through to Canada and Mexico. So I think, as we go forward, we'll find out. But all signs point to yes, it is a better agreement for Illinois soybean farmers.
Ron, let me stay with you, and I'll make the other swing here, beginning on environment. What do you think, hope, fear right now, going into a new administration, with what may be asked of you or demanded of you as a farmer that would change your farming practices to address global climate change?
Well, I think, as David said, it's the unknown that is the fear. But another fear I have is that they're going to try to move too fast on this and not think it through, and could put some very harmful regulations on what we do out here on our farms. A lot of us are already no-tilling our soybeans, growing some cover crops, doing things that sequester carbon and are good for the environment. And, we're worried that the ones that are already doing it aren't going to get any reward for what they've done in the past, and that it's going to be a penalty if you don't change all of your farmland over to those practices. And I don't mind doing some of it, but we're used to our independence and making our own decisions that are best for each individual farm, and to make it the most productive we can. And in some cases, I think they're trying to take that away, and I think that's a fear that I have, is that we won't be able to make a decision on each individual farm that for the best for the production of that farm. So,
Brad Daugherty, I see you nodding your head, but I'll give you room to run on this one. What do you hope and fear?
Well, my hope is in the farmer himself. The farmer's the best environmentalist you've got. That's what we do for a living. We don't want to lose that ground. We don't want to see it washing away. The no-tilling has been the benefit of the past. And I think the cover crop on top of that no-tilling, that's the biggie, I think, right now. That's what we were missing. Because you did see some erosion to a point on some of that no-till once it started, but the cover crop now is taking care of that. It just amazes me that the area around here, how people, the farmers especially, have adapted to that cover crop now. So it's going big time in this area.
David, you say that you like to deal with these environmental issues, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are growers who want you to deal with these issues, but what do you think you're going to face? And do you think it's going to be a carrot and stick situation, or hopefully more carrots and less sticks?
Well, we have to have a voice. We got to be there when policy is being made, and make our voice heard, and show what we have done in the past, and what will and will not work. One program that we are doing here that we combined with Illinois Corn On's our PCM, which is Precision Conservation Management, and that is showing the economical benefits of these conservation practices. And we need to use this data that we are collecting off hundreds of thousands of acres to show to our legislators, our policymakers, that farmers are making a difference and are willing to make a difference, but it's got to still be economically viable for the farm. I mean, that's the number one thing for sustainability. If we're not profitable, we're not going to be around for future generations to take over our farms. And we
Let
just
me
have to
throw
have
a question at you regarding not the things you're doing that the government wants that you may or may not get paid for, but if you grow livestock, the potential that is viewed as a negative and you get taxed on livestock. How do you feel about the government offering that as the stick? We're going to charge you to grow livestock, or we're going to add to a cost of livestock to make it less desirable to grow that in the United States.
That's just where our commodity organizations need to, like I said, make their voice be heard and show through good data that what they perceive as maybe being environmentally detrimental. It isn't. One thing I just heard on a news story this morning about the dairy industry, it's how they are going to hoping to move to a net carbon or net zero carbon and by 2030, I believe it was. But livestock is not the end all to, as some people may fear. It actually is beneficial for a lot of these environmental and conservation programs that are moving forward.
Well, with you and with all farmers, you've got this balance of what you're growing and what people are consuming. And if you don't have livestock to consume soybeans, you can't grow it. So there is a combination, but there certainly has been, and I'd ask you or anybody else to comment, a lot of criticism, anything had to do with livestock, and especially cows at this point, that they are damaging the environment with the methane, however it may be pushed into the air. I wonder what you feel that you can do to show those policymakers the reality of this.
We just have to use sound science. I mean, that's the only thing that's on our side. A lot of this words that are coming out may not be as truthful and may not have the science to back everything. But we use our research and our cooperation with other organizations throughout the industry to prove what needs to be done.
Ron, a question for you. What % of your income do you see you might get in the future that comes from a government payment for carbon sequestration versus what you may get from the marketplace?
Oh, okay. That's an interesting question. I haven't been asked before, Ken. So I would, just off the top of my head, I would say it would be 10% or less was what I see the government providing in carbon payments for my bottom line. And I think it's going to be a huge battle as we go forward just to get paid anything out of the marketplace, I think, in the future. That's why we want to be at the table during all the talks and when legislation's crafted. But we want to be at the table. We want to be rewarded, as you could, if you want to put it that way, for the good practices we're doing on the farm. Basically, what we want is a voluntary incentive-based carbon payment program, and that's basically what we're working towards right now.
Let me turn to the response to COVID-19. Just staying with you, if I could, for a moment, Ron, and
Okay.
all three of you. Is it behind us, or is it just been a very difficult year to work through? I mean, you've lost your commodity classic in the sense of being able to see each other. You've had restrictions on your life, but from the view of the Illinois Soybean Association or from the American Soybean Association, what's your take on how much damage COVID-19 did to you in the last year?
Well, I think that the damage was in the food supply chain. I think there were some issues there, especially on the livestock side, trying to get the livestock processed. That, to me, that was the damage that was done out here. We were fortunate here on the farm. We were able to keep doing what we do. We're outside, doing our job. We weren't restricted as such. Sure, there were a few hurdles we had to jump through, but nothing that couldn't be overcome. And so we were able to produce the normal crop that we would, and provide the cheap food for the American people to eat. And I think that's the message that we want out there as far as the COVID and the impact. It was more in the food supply chain, and it was disrupted because the workers got COVID, and they had to try to work around that, but and work through it. So that's my take on it.
Let me switch gears to the farm economy, and all three of you, if I could, and just rotate through, beginning with Brad. The farm economy looks better for you right now, but there's a number of things that the wheels have got to fit together and they've got to turn right to make it all work. So how do you feel generally about the coming year and this full administration on keeping the farm economy humming forward and you being able to make a profit?
First thing is going to be exports. They've got to maintain those exports. Given the opportunity, the farmer's going to produce it, and we're going to produce it big time. The weather, as always, is the kicker there. Mother Nature can throw you some bad curves, and we won't produce. We could have a 2012 again, but barring that, we'll produce it. Hopefully, the government will continue, and the exports will continue. I know earlier they were working on a phase 2. I don't know about the new administration if they're going to continue that or not. Hopefully they will with China. The phase 1 was a good deal. We've increased our exports. We've got them back finally. Hopefully that plays out.
Would you say, David, there's one farm program benefit from USDA that you cannot live without? What that might be?
Well, I think in a whole that it's the crop insurance program that most farmers rely heavily on.
I agree.
That
Yep.
I know it's subsidized somewhat from the government, but it gives a safety net for the farmers. I mean, we are investing a lot of resources, a lot of money into these crops every year. And that safety net there is just crucial for many people to stay in business.
Right. Ron, is ISA thinking about the next farm bill yet? Or maybe I just should ask, are they thinking about the farm bill all the time?
We are thinking about the farm bill. We've started discussions on that. I know that, that this one goes through 2023. But we're worrying with a new administration in house. We're kind of worried about what that next farm bill will look like. We're pretty sure there's going to be more money poured into the conservation climate area, and what's that going to do to the Title I commodity area? Is there going to be much money in there? Is it all going to be taken up by the SNAP program? So there's a lot of unknowns, but I think we're trying to get our policy act together and our ask that what we would like to see. I know a lot of people are okay with what we have today in this farm bill, but I'm not sure if that's going to be in the cards in the next farm bill. So, but we are thinking about it.
Well, every farm bill that I've covered has a fear it's going to be the last one because there just won't be enough coalition to come together to let you pass it. And we've always been wrong in the best way possible, and that we have passed another farm bill. But with you and with the incredible change we've seen in these ag committees in Washington, we no longer have Pat Roberts in the Senate.
Right.
We no longer have anybody from the same group, Republican or Democrat, in the House. Are you nervous?
Of course I'm nervous. We're doing our jobs trying to educate the new people on board in the ag committees, but all that history that they had and all the knowledge those people had, we've lost that, and you just can't replace that overnight. So yes, we're worried. We have many fears going forward, but I can say without a doubt that ASA and ISA will be there fighting for the good of Illinois farmers and trying to come up with the best policy we can come up with in the farm bill for our farmers. So that's the only thing I can guarantee. But yes, it is kind of a scary situation out in Washington, D.C. right now.
Brad Daugherty, what's your take on this?
I agree with what Ron has said. Got to thinking about the funding, which is, the new administration, how much are they going to fund USDA, NRCS? They're going to have funding to put this together as well on a new farm bill. And each time we have a new farm bill, it seems like our funding gets cut a little more. So that's going to be a particular that has to be watched.
Right. David, one thing that has been constant almost is that we have a Secretary of Agriculture who already has 8 years experience in USDA, and he's a known quantity. Does that give you any comfort?
Oh, I'm very comfortable with Tom Vilsack, and that was one thing that I did sit in on. He did speak at Commodity Classic, and he's been a champion for agriculture during his Obama administration. And I don't think we could have anybody better in there, a better voice right now with this administration moving forward. We got some good experience, and I know the team he will set forward will help us out as much as we can.
Well, gentlemen, let's jump to another area here, and that is biodiesel. It's closer to home. It is the product for your industry that has been accepted by the public, greater demand for your product. It's environmentally sound. And I know that is something, and if I could, David, I'll just stay with you, that I know you want to promote. So what's your take on what needs to be done to keep biodiesel produced from Illinois soybeans in the future?
Just like you mentioned, we need to express the environmental and health benefits of biodiesel to the public. During COVID, of course, transportation was actually increased or kept going. The biodiesel demand hasn't really dropped off much. On a state level, I'll let Ron get into what we're working on there more, but we just need to tout the environmental and health benefits of biodiesel.
Ron, over to you.
Okay. Well, in state here, we have introduced, legislation introduced to make B20 biodiesel blend the statewide standard for diesel fuel in Illinois. It was introduced in the House probably almost 3 weeks ago, and we got a similar bill introduced in the Senate just this past week. So it's moving forward. We anticipated that our in-state biodiesel tax incentive, which was set to expire in 2024, would probably be under attack due to our financial difficulties in Illinois. And sure enough, in the governor's budget this year, he eliminated the biodiesel tax incentive that we had in state, which opened up some revenue for the state to use. So I think our timing was very good on that. And we're hopeful that we can get this legislation passed and keep the biodiesel industry thriving here in Illinois, because it creates a lot of jobs here in Illinois. It is good for our economy. It's good for our tax structure. It's good for the environment. It's good for farmers. There's just a lot of good that comes out of biodiesel being produced here in Illinois.
Brad, I know you are tuned in to transportation as well, but what's your take on biodiesel and how it will be beneficial, not only to growers, but to those people who are driving all kinds of diesel-powered machines in the state?
All right, now the semi industry uses, to some extent, I know Ron had talked about Chicago, where they're using the 20% blend there and getting along very well with it. So we use it on our farm. It and the ethanol is both, but biodiesel is what we're talking about, and we use it here. We haven't had a problem with it gelling, which seems to be a fear factor with some. Works fantastic as far as I'm concerned. So we get along fabulously with it.
Right. Speaking further now on transportation, but we're not totally out of biodiesel unless you guys want to be. Are you guys feeling like that you have a potential in this coming 4 years with an infrastructure bill or anything like that? Brad, I stay with you on whether you might be able to have a easier and cheaper way to get more soybeans out of Illinois.
Waterways, they have been dredging on the Mississippi to get that 50-foot, I think it's 50-foot depth.
Yep.
That would,
Yep.
And that has been fantastic. It's supposed to wrap up hopefully here in June on the first phase of that. That will allow bigger ships to load heavier, which means more money in our pocket. It will actually save the farmers some dollars. Will actually increase the price, hopefully, that we get out of our beans and corn and wheat as well. So our infrastructure with waterways, we have a lot of waterways here in Illinois. We have a lot of rivers to deal with. Railroads would be the other thing that we could use help with. So the railroad system is another infrastructure. The roads themselves for these trucks to travel on. Bridges have to be built strong enough to take those loads. So it's all part of our infrastructure, and we need it all, especially those waterways.
David, let's come to you. I want to tell you a story and then let you react to it with your views. I've been to Brazil several times, beginning in the 1980s, and I have seen their infrastructure improve greatly over those years. It's not great, but it's so much better than it was. And they're a competitor of ours in all aspects. And we look at them and we say, can't you see as a government that if we don't keep our infrastructure strong, we're going to lose the race with these people in all areas, not just in the ones where they can cut you on cheap labor and things like that. Is that message getting through to anybody in Washington?
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's what our grassroots effort is. We talk to our legislators on a regular basis. I know just in the last 2 weeks, we've had several one-on-one conversations with congressmen, congresswomen, and our senators. And of course, infrastructure is always a priority, high on our list. Where Illinois is positioned, we're kind of centrally located here in the country, and we have rail and highway systems that intersect through our country, moving east-west, north-south, and of course our waterways. And the passage of the WRDA bill just last year was a major accomplishment for us. It really secured some funding for the work that needs to be done just to maintain what we got. I know we would like to see improvements, but as long as we can maintain at a good level the infrastructure that we have, we would feel very good.
Ron,
Ken, if I may expand on that a little bit, David mentioned the WRDA bill, and the biggest thing in that WRDA bill was the change in the funding going from 50% Inland Waterway Trust Fund and 50% federal funding to 65% federal funding and 35% Inland Waterway Trust Fund. And what this will allow is for the money to be put up front more on these projects, so these projects can get done in a timely manner and they can be done efficiently. Nothing like we saw with the Olmsted Lock and Dam on the Ohio River, where it tripled or quadrupled in cost due to the funding not being there right up front. So I think that was a huge win, having a change of changing that formula to more coming out of the general fund or the federal fund. So I think that's huge.
Ron, do you think that there is a good chance over the extended period of time of this administration that an infrastructure bill that addresses waterways more than we have to this point will be passed?
I am very optimistic that will happen. The Biden administration seems very supportive of an infrastructure package, and we have a lot of support from our legislators in Illinois that's really pushing for upgrades to that inland waterway system. And so I think, we've got a little momentum now. We're working with corn growers. We're working with Farm Bureau. We're working with a lot of organizations that are impacted by the waterway system. And I think we've got a good chance of getting something done in the next 4 years.
Does anybody else want to say anything on this infrastructure and transportation before we leave it? Brad, any comment from you?
Well, the comment you had, Ken, earlier, where Brazil is gaining on us, and they are. Although it's slow, they are still gaining on us. And if we don't step up to the plate, our infrastructure is going to be behind them. And we don't want that. We want to be able to put this out there, get it to those ships, get it to wherever it needs to go, and get it overseas.
David, I don't know.
Our exports are. Go ahead. That's fine.
David, I don't know your political affiliation, but do you think that the majority can push through an infrastructure bill that addresses waterways in the 4 years ahead?
Yeah, like Ron said, we're optimistic that we can get something done. And the proof that the work that just got done last summer just shows that it can be done in a timely manner with very little disruption. There was 5 major locks on the Illinois River that were upgraded. Mainly just maintenance done to them. There really wasn't many upgrades, but a lot of work was done on them in just the last year. And that was done on schedule and under budget, I believe, or very close to budget. And that just shows that this work can get done. And we'll work with our legislators and the right committees to get this passed through.
Let's dream a little bit. Is there any possibility of getting 1,200-foot locks put in place of some of the shorter ones, and the capability of increasing the speed of transportation as you increase the volume that you're offering to go down the river?
Oh, I mean, I think there is a chance that we can get this done. We've got some good people in state here that's on the transportation committee, and they are in the vital areas of that central Illinois waterway that would show what those improvements would do. I mean, we are the #1 soybean producing state in the nation, and with over 60% of our crop leaving and most of it going down our waterways, I think it's vital for our farmers' future, and we'll work all we can to make that seen.
Ron, I'll give you the last word on this transportation infrastructure area because it seems to be very much on your mind.
Yes, I guess another comment I would like to make on the infrastructure is that, Illinois is very well positioned in infrastructure. All Class 1 railroads pass through Chicago. So we can hit any market domestically or internationally, out of Illinois with the use of rail or the waterway system. And obviously the waterway system is the most economical way to move our product. And, as David said, we did get some work done, some rehabilitation work, maintenance work that was long overdue on some of our locks. So we're trying to avoid a catastrophic failure. But as you mentioned, the 1,200-foot locks, that is the goal, and that is what we're all striving for. We're taking baby steps, but with this rehabilitation to try to avoid a disaster. But in the end, we want to be able to move this and to compete and stay competitive with our South American counterparts. I think we're going to have 1,200-foot locks in the future.
For those of you watching this, I don't know if all of you have ever been at a lock and dam, especially one that requires the tows to break half their load and move it through, and then go back and move the other half through, and then go back and hook up and then go on down the river. But if you look at that and the cost of the delay and the anticipation that you could pull in with all one 1,200-foot string of barges and take them right on through, you could see a cost savings and an increase in speed that would rival any single thing that people say you can do to enhance barge traffic. So that is the reason for these. But at the same time, Ron, the cost is staggering to go in and rebuild even one of these locks. and the history of doing it has not been really good because of the cost overruns in the past. It would sure be nice if we could have one built on schedule, on time, and on budget.
Well, and I think that's the goal of the new WRDA is trying to get closer to that, Ken. So we have that funding up front, so the work can be done in a timely manner, and like you said, within budget, on time, within budget, and yes, it takes a tremendous amount of money, and we know that, and we're trying to get all kinds of partners to contribute to be a part of upgrading this waterway system, because it's just vital for not only our industry but a lot of other industries that rely on that waterway system as well.
I have noted and enjoyed the passion with all three of you on the issues that are very dear to you. Many of them come from the base of you as a farmer, and then you as a farmer who wishes to sell your product in the country and around the world and have the freedom to be able to do so. But for what you're doing to work, you have to have the cooperation of soybean farmers across the state of Illinois. And I know it's a constant challenge, Ron, to keep membership up and to be able to have enough clout to be able to do the advocacy that you want to do. Do you feel that?
Not as much as I used to, Ken. Which is kind of, I know people won't believe that, but we feel we represent 43,000 soybean farmers in Illinois. They all pay into the checkoff. Our board manages the checkoff as well as the policy side of things on the grower side. But I think we have the support. I know we have the support of the biggest percentage of soybean farmers in Illinois, and being involved with this organization for close to 15 years now. I've seen all the good work and all of the positives that come out of our work that we do here at ISA, both with our checkoff investments and our policy work through the Growers Association. And it is a tremendous value for the Illinois soybean farmer.
Brad Daugherty, do you ever wince when you think how many dollars you spend on that checkoff, or do you directly see the benefit from it?
Well, on the soybean board, I directly see the benefit of what's happening. Like David said, we'd met with several congressmen and congresswomen here this past week and talked directly with them. Kind of raised eyebrows, you might say. It was a learning experience for them as well as us. Their world and our world. It's all a give and take, you might say, and it still comes down to dollars, that enter into the picture. But as far as being a part of the Illinois Soybean Association, I can't think of anything being better spent than for what we do, whether it be on the local level, on the state level, or on the national level. We have people in places to talk with key parties, whether it be agriculture committees or environmental committees that we deal with out here every day.
David Wessel, I'm sure you've thought about this as well. How would you tell another grower that he or she should embrace the checkoff and the actions of the American Soybean Association on one side and the Illinois Soybean Association and utilization on the other?
Well, as farmers, we're all independent people, but we need to be one voice. 99% of our population here in the country is 2 or 3 generations removed from the farm. And if we can't unite for the cause of our industry, there's no one else out there that's going to do it for us. Being a board member, I've been on now 3 years as a board, and it really opened my eyes. I was always supportive of all the checkoff organizations and our membership organizations here in Illinois. But really seeing the efforts that go in and the work that is being done on the farmers' behalf, it just really excites me and encourages me even more to promote our industry.
What is the cost in dollars of being a member of the Illinois Soybean Association?
Well, 1 year membership costs $150, and a 3 year membership is $300. So that's what the cost is, and we have a lot of members that are more than willing to pay that cost and see the benefits that it provides to them.
Can you also tell me a little bit more about this Challenge 250 that you're working on?
Yeah, it's with the Illinois Soybean Growers Political Action Committee. We formed this probably 3 or 4 years ago now. We formed this political action committee, and our Challenge 250 is we want a $250 donation by 250 people, and that's our goal. We hope to exceed our goal, but it goes towards our lobbying, our policy work, our lobbying work. We use that to influence legislators on issues that are important to Illinois soybean farmers. And if you'd like to donate to that, it's illsoygrowers.com/challenge250, and you can make your donation there. It's we accept checks, credit cards. We're good to go. We'll take whatever you want to give us.
Do you have any Bitcoin? Am I paying Bitcoin yet?
I do not have Bitcoin, I guess.
You may be selling soybeans in Bitcoin one of these days.
Well, we might be. Who knows?
Let me ask all three of you just one more question here as we finish up, and that is your overall philosophy of how that you fit into the economy as soybean growers, how you are a benefit to America, the strength of America as soybean growers. David, you're well spoken in these areas, and I'm sure well thought out in this. If you had to defend yourself, what would you say?
We're supplying the food and fuel for our nation, and it's coming from right here. It's something that we don't have to import. We don't have to depend on foreign countries, whatever may be going on in those areas. We're homegrown right here in Midwestern Illinois, and we can supply it for you.
Brad, I get that you are a diversified farmer and there's other things on your plate besides growing soybeans, but looking at the whole package of it and defending yourself as a contributor to the future of America, what would you say?
It's a pride thing to me. In other words, I'm proud of what we do. We're the best as far as I'm concerned, barring any nation. We're the best at what we do. When we go out and grow a field, we grow a field of beans, and we intend to have the best beans anybody out there. And that's just the philosophy we have here. Do the best you can, and good Lord will do the rest.
Ron Kindred, you are the senior statesman of this group, I think, in activities and heavy involvement in your association. I don't know how many years you've been involved, but you know the issues coming and going, as all of you know them well. Is this a labor of love for you? Does it fit in with you being a farmer at the same time?
Oh, it definitely does. I didn't know it did. I will be honest with you. When I got the call the first time and got asked to be on the Illinois Soybean Association, I didn't know how good a fit it would be for me. But I have grown as a person with my involvement in the organization. It's given me a tremendous amount of knowledge. I feel I've made better decisions on my farm from my involvement with this association. And I hope I've been able to pass on some of that to some of my fellow farmers over the years with some of our interactions. So it's been a very, very rewarding ride for me. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And to all three of you, my thanks for your work with your association, the productivity you have, the community leaders that I know that you are. Ron Kindred, you've been the head of Government Relations Committee. I thank you for talking with us today. Brad Daugherty, who's an ISA director from West Union, thank you. And David Wessel, Utilization Committee Chair from Chandlerville, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
I want to thank all of our gentlemen who have been on the panel today to talk to you, and the amount of information that they have provided and the dedication that they have to their profession and the Illinois Soybean Association. We have ways that you can contact ISA or the American Soybean Association, and as growers, we hope you'll do so.
Thank you for tuning in to the Illinois Soybean Growers 2021 Commodity Classic Policy Session in Review, brought to you by Illinois Soybean Growers, who encourage all those who tuned in today to sign up for the Voice for Soy Advocacy Network. Signing up for the Voice for Soy Advocacy Network is simple. By using your smartphone, you can create a new text message and send it to the number 52886. In the message box, you should type the word soy and hit send. You'll receive an immediate text message back that asks you to click the link to complete a profile with your name, physical address, and email address. The prompt also asks if you want to subscribe to text messages and emails. Once submitted, you'll be automatically linked to the Illinois Soy Action Center. With a valid address, Voice for Soy can locate your respective state and federal legislators, and when an action request comes through the network, a pre-written email within the Action Center is ready for members to send. If it's a phone call action request, the Action Center provides the phone numbers to call respective legislators. It's an all-in-one, easy-to-use process which takes less than a minute. And did you know that Voice for Soy is not limited to just ISA members? By working together with other farmers and farm groups on common issues, it only amplifies our voice in agriculture. You can invite fellow farmers, family, and friends to join as advocates today. Please reach out to ISA's Director of Public Policy and Market Development, Andrew Larson, at larsona@illsoy.org, or call 309-808-3612 with questions about signing up or to become more involved in ISA's legislative outreach. This has been a production of Colleen Callahan Consultancy.